Yo, yo, yo. How we doing, everybody? Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a great day, sourcing some products, maybe watching a football game or two. Today I've got Corey on stream with us. If you guys are watching on the replay, the wholesale challenge starts literally in the morning, right? I guess
Yep.
tomorrow night, right? The doors close tonight at midnight.
Yep.
What time zone, Corey?
So 11:59 PST. We are
Cool.
closing the doors tonight. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. So he's got the wholesale challenge going down. Week long training, bunch of documents, spreadsheets, hanging out live with you guys on calls, answering all your questions, all that good stuff. I'll be attending some of the calls I attended last year. Super useful. So go through the link down below if you want to join. There's a code for you. Fields 100 saves you $100 as well. But Corey and I are just gonna be chopping it up, talking all things wholesale. We're gonna keep it just to wholesale questions tonight. We'll probably go for 30 minutes or so, and yeah, let us know what we can help you out with. I've got some questions. I'll lob to Corey as well. But yeah, how are we doing today, man?
Good, man. I've been on a couple more lives today. So some of you guys, if you were with us earlier today, we appreciate it. But yeah, just kind of been talking wholesale all day and loving it. And somebody already had a question. Actually, they said, please let us know how we can get access to the wholesale challenge for tomorrow. So go through the link in the description of Warner's stream here and use that code Fields100. That'll get you $100 off. And as soon as you sign up, you'll get put in the Facebook group, and that is where the live sessions go down.
Awesome. Let's see. This is a good question. How much did you make per month in profit before deciding to start wholesale?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really have like a specific dollar amount in mind that I was making with OA before adding wholesale. Really, I just saw the long-term potential of wholesale. Also, I saw how wholesale kind of aligned with my skill set. So I've always been a sales guy, always been a relationship guy. So I saw that wholesale was kind of the best way to develop that. So I just decided to jump in really before I had a really strong OA business.
Yeah, it's the move if you're a people person for sure. I was not like that, so that was not my natural first step. But some of you guys, like, if you like talking to people and making sales and all that kind of stuff, like wholesale is kind of the move for you. That's like what most people can't get over. So if you love that side of the business, like, you take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I kind of want to take a little bit step by step as well. So you guys can chime in if you have questions on this type of stuff. But when you're working with these wholesale suppliers, Corey, how are you landing? There's 40 something people in here watching early. Hit the like if you wouldn't mind, by the way, side plug. But for these 40 something people in, how are they supposed to find that first wholesale account? Like, how do they get the ball rolling?
Yeah, so I mean, of the 40 people watching this, I would guess that most of those people are probably already doing online arbitrage or already doing retail arbitrage. So if that is the case and you were one of those people, start with the brands that you're already selling, right, in your arbitrage business. So take a look at the brands that you're selling. You can reach out to the brand and ask for a wholesale account directly with the brand, or you can ask the brand to make an introduction between you and an authorized distributor in your area, right? So that's going to be the easiest way to go about it. That's how I would approach it if I were a new seller.
Sweet. Yeah. So you're hitting up that. One thing I noticed that was like something I didn't expect about wholesale was the bigger distributors often had like higher prices. Because I always assumed it was just like, all right, I'm just going to call the biggest brand I can and see if I can spend enough for it to matter. But it's weird how like the local is better a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, my theory behind that is that all these like big national distributors, they've got so much overhead, right? Think about it. They've got their own fleet of trucks. They've got tons of different warehouse spaces, huge number of employees. So they've got to cover that overhead in the form of higher prices. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, it's funny. It's corporate bloat like a big software company or something, but it's even applies to like random products.
Right. What's up, Matt? Yeah, Matt's been on at least one of the other streams today, if not both. So yeah, thanks for showing up, man.
Matt
Alon on here again. Yeah, Alon's been on like everything we've done, I feel like, in the last couple of weeks.
You got to get to work, Alan. Come on, man.
Yeah, I never know if it's Alan or Alon. I've been
I don't know. If you there's a fine line. We love seeing you, but please also do work. I'm sure you are. Keep crushing, man. Lots of good questions coming in now. Let's see. How do you know what to price your desired wholesale price to not blow the supplier, not spend more than you have to? That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a really good question. So when I say like pick a target price that you'd be comfortable paying, it's all going to be like within the context of that specific product. So let's just say the product you're looking at, it's a super hot product, right? It's selling maybe hundreds, maybe even thousands of units per month on Amazon. So for a product like that, it's not realistic to expect a really good margin, right? Because high volume products like that, they just tend to be lower margin. So if you're looking at a product like that that's selling hundreds of units per month and you want to know where to price your quote or where to price your request, I guess, I would shoot for anywhere from like a 12 to a 15% gross margin is what you kind of want to ask for right off the bat, right? More than likely, they're going to counter you with a lower price. So I like to build in a little buffer on the upside and then let them kind of counter you down.
Gotcha. So you're kind of asking on a gross margin scale, and then that
Yeah.
slides up or down depending on volume.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So if it's a product that's not selling that well on Amazon, I can kind of say to them, I'm like, listen, I can't really move that many of these, so I'm going to need a better price.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And how often are they like, yeah, let's run it? Like with that kind of game plan, is it pretty often for them to do it, or what are expectations basically?
Yeah. So, guys, when you come to them and you know what you want, you know the exact product that you want, you know the exact price that you want, again, assuming that price is within reason, I'd say it's literally like a 50-50 shot as to whether or not they're going to be able to either honor that quote or at least agree to work with you, right? And the thing is if the product that you're asking for, if they can't give you a profitable price on that product, then try different products, right? Either from the same brand or from other brands that supplier carries, because what that supplier likes to see is that you're trying, right? You're bringing them specific products that you're ready to buy. It just hasn't been a match on price. So you're going to find that match eventually. And when you do, the supplier, like that's when the hard work pays off and you can keep buying more from that supplier.
Absolutely. It's a good breakdown there. Is it normal for the catalog to be public on their website? I've seen some like that. What are your thoughts on those companies?
So it's normal if the catalog is public, but the pricing isn't, right? So usually most legit distributors, they're not going to give their pricing is not going to be on their website, right? So they're either going to make you log into their website in order to see pricing, or they just don't have any sort of pricing information on their website at all. Those are typically legitimate distributors. If they just have like their price list or their regular pricing on their website, typically that's not like a real distributor.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen some of those. Some of them can be good. It's like even between regular wholesale and OA.
Yeah.
Like there's some sites that are like kind of you submit a resale certificate or something and bang, you got the account. There's nobody to talk to. Like
Right.
we've
Yeah,
bought
there's always exceptions.
Yeah, we've bought a decent amount from wholesalers like that. So if you guys are just trying to find the low hanging fruit, like I like those as well. Yeah, and we mentioned at the top of the stream, but if you guys are joining right now and you want to learn more about wholesale, Corey's got his week-long kind of masterclass training. All that starts tomorrow night, and admissions close tonight. So if you guys want to learn from Corey, he's done over 10 million on Amazon. You can check that out down below. I also got a coupon for you, but keep dropping those wholesale questions.
Somebody had a question earlier, and I think this would be a good one to answer. They just said, let's see where to go. Oh, can you break down Amazon wholesale for the layman? Yeah, so I'll give you guys just an overview of what wholesale is, right? Especially if some of you are on like the brand new side. So wholesale is just where we're buying brand name products, either directly from the manufacturer or from an authorized distributor, and turning around and reselling them on Amazon. So it's the exact same concept as arbitrage, whether you're doing retail arbitrage or whether you're doing online arbitrage. The only difference is that instead of buying from another retail store, we're buying directly from the source.
Yep. There's always it's trade-offs for sure, but it's definitely like I don't know what number you like to say, but it's either like somewhere between like 100 to 200K OA, and then if you're trying to scale past that, like you're just gonna need to buy stuff pallets at a time, all that. It also depends like what your personal skill set is. I'll put you on the spot with this one, Corey. There's lots of good questions we'll get to, but what is the best question that you've been asked through your tour recently that a lot of people don't usually ask, and what's kind of the the answer to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think typically the best question I get is like, well, what are the downsides of wholesale, right? Because a lot of people like to talk about, oh, these are the upsides, these are the benefits, this is what it gets you, right? But not many people are talking about some of the downsides. So, I mean, in my opinion, probably the biggest downside to wholesale is going to be the cash flow cycle, right? So anybody that's sold on Amazon for any amount of time knows it's a capital intensive business. You've got to have a really close eye on your cash. You can't run out of cash. You got to be able to pay your bills, right? So with arbitrage, typically when you're buying from these websites, the websites are shipping like the next day. Either it gets right to your prep center, right to you, you turn around and prep it, you send it to Amazon. And a lot of times your items are selling within, 10 days of you placing that order with your supplier. But in wholesale, it's a little different. So sometimes we're having to pay upfront for orders that aren't going to ship for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 days, sometimes even a couple of weeks, right? So I've already tied up that cash, but I don't have the inventory yet and I haven't sold it yet. So the cash flow cycle can be a lot longer in wholesale. And it's a more elite skill set of like being able to manage your business finances, managing your cash, credit, and kind of balancing all that is a very hard part of the business.
For sure. Yeah. What are some ways that you've been able to like speed up how fast you're moving money in your business?
So the main thing is just like getting terms with your suppliers, right? So for those of you that don't know what terms are, when I say, for example, I have net 30 terms with my distributor, that means that I have 30 days to pay that distributor. That distributor is basically extending me a line of credit. So when I place an order with that distributor, let's say that distributor invoices me on January 23rd. Well, if I have net 30 terms, then I don't have to pay until 30 days after that invoice date, which technically February 23rd, right? So that allows me sometimes to buy inventory for my supplier, send it to Amazon, start selling it, and then pay back some or sometimes even pay for all of that order from the proceeds of the actual product itself. So when you time it right and you have good credit terms, you can literally be paying for the orders with a profit from selling the same order.
That's awesome. Yeah. So at what point in the relationship with your supplier are you asking for net terms?
So a lot of suppliers, as part of their application process, well, you can apply for terms like from day one, even if you've never bought from that supplier before. But what I typically like to do is I like to prepay for a couple of orders with a supplier first, like if it's my first time working with them. And then after I have a couple of orders under my belt, then I say, hey, Mr. Supplier, we've done some good business over the last couple of weeks, months, whatever. I'd like to apply for terms with you guys, right? They'll send you an application, you'll fill it out, their credit department will approve it, and then you'll get terms.
Nice. And then you let Mr. Supplier, John Supplier, let him know that he was born for that industry, right?
Yes, exactly.
Let's see. Best way to find local distributors. I think David said he's in North Jersey. Is there any like what's your thought process behind those local distributors?
So I feel like I explain the Google method all the time. So the easiest way is always going to be to go on Google, search for distributors in your area, use the search phrase, category name, distributor, your city. But if you're specifically looking for local distributors like in your town, dude, like pay attention to the highway, right? When you're driving down the road, when you're driving down the highway, you will see distributor trucks passing you probably 2 to 3 a day and you don't even realize it, right? So take a picture of the truck or write down the name of the supplier, Google them, call them up. That is a really underrated way to find some like low key, profitable suppliers that are right under your nose.
Yeah, there's like this random. I've seen them. You guys know what it looks like. It's the random like the branding is terrible. It's pictures of some like super old like grocery product or something like that. Like, there's lots of those little distributors. Let's see. What's everything you put in a Google sheet for the supplier to look at? That's a good question. So when you're saying, hey, this is the exact products that I want to buy from you guys. Here's the prices that we could pay. Like what's on that Google sheet? How are you formatting that?
So bare minimum, you want to give them the brand name and then the product name, right? Now, depending on the brand and really depending on the product category, there's sometimes like it's called like a SKU or a model number. So in tools, like every tool is going to have a specific model number. You're going to want to include that. And then worst case, you want to include the UPC number as well, right? UPC is going to help the distributor easily find out what product is referring to, but then also the quantity that you want to buy and the price that you're shooting for, right? So the perfect sheet would have the UPC, a short description of the product, the brand name, the price that you want to pay, the quantity that you want to buy, right? So really there's 5 things.
I've heard other wholesale people, and even you sometimes will be, you'll say, hey, like, how much do I need to buy? Or like, hey, I want to buy this many. What's my price? Or how many do I need to buy to hit this certain price? Like, is there a benefit to giving them both? Should we withhold one when trying to negotiate? Like, because you're saying to do both there.
Yeah, so it really depends, right? Like there's really 2 ways to ask for a discount. The first way is kind of what I was just explaining, where you put kind of that purchase order, not necessarily purchase order, but you just like kind of have a sheet of products that you want to buy. And you tell them like, hey, this is the price that I need to be at, right? So that's kind of a way of almost like asking for a discount or like asking for the price you need. But another way to do that is exactly like you just said. You pretty much ask your supplier, you're like, hey, if I need to get a price of, let's say, $12, how many units do I need to buy to get $12? Right. And then they'll tell you. And if the thing is about that method is if they really can't do $12, like if that's below their cost, they'll tell you. They'll say, Corey, like, that's below my cost, but I can do 13, but you'll have to buy X. Right. And if they can do $12, if there's any way that they can sell that to you at 12, they'll say, oh yeah, you got to buy 1,000 units, right? Or whatever. And they'll tell you.
We had one supplier. We were like, hey, we want like 4,000 of these. What's your what's your best price? And they literally like laughed at us when we suggested what we needed to pay for. It's like sometimes it just doesn't work. But like,
right. and that's what like I like to preface that. I'm like, hey, like, and sometimes I'll even say if I know that I'm asking for like a pretty aggressive price, usually I might say like, hey, listen, like I know this isn't possible, but I need to be at this price. So like, maybe we'll look for another product, right? And I kind of like pull away a little bit and kind of let them tell me. If they say, oh, well, we can get close, then that's a conversation. But if they say, yeah, there's no way, then I'm like, okay, we'll just find another product.
Cool, yeah. See, somebody was asking, when's it okay to go with the actual brand versus going to a distributor? That's a good question.
So the typical rule of thumb, like if it's a big brand, so something like Nestle or like Procter and Gamble or Unilever, one of these huge brands, you're going to want to buy that type of brand through distribution, right? It's just going to be very hard to get a direct account with some of those brands. But if it is a smaller to like maybe medium-sized brand, then it wouldn't hurt to go right to the brand, right? To call them up and ask for a wholesale account.
Awesome. Yeah. A lot of times, like you kind of know, like I'm not getting this brand direct with Dove or whatever, so you just hit them with like straight the like who's your distributor for Central Missouri or wherever you are, right? Like,
right.
Other times you can kind of swing for the fences. Would you hire a VA to source the product list? That's a good question. Like how? Yeah, what's your you're getting these product lists, you're calling local suppliers, distributors, whatever it is. How's your team looking through those lists?
Yeah, so I mean, typically, if you're on the newer side, like this is the product research you want to be doing on your own, right? Because you really want to master this process before you hand it off to a VA. But in my business, usually if we receive a price list, we're never going through the price list line by line and doing that manual research. What we're doing instead is we're finding out what brands are on the price list, and then we're going to Amazon or using Keep a Product Finder or using Smart Scout to find the best-selling products from those brands, and then kind of cross-referencing them to the price list, right? So we'll find a good product, see if it's on the price list. If it is, compare the price. If it's not, ask our sales rep to possibly put in a special order for that specific product.
Yeah, that's a good way to break it down there.
Good question here from Matt. He said, how often do you buy wholesale for a listing that has no BSR? When the profitability of a listing is less than obvious, is there anything to look for specifically when buying wholesale compared to OA? So I'll answer the first question first, Matt. So if there's no BSR, there's a couple of things we can check on to see if the product's actually getting sales. The first thing would be the review count, right? So if that review count is still increasing like pretty regularly, even though there's no BSR, we know it's getting sales because it's getting a lot of reviews, right? Second thing is sometimes that middle Keepa graph, right, is the subcategory sales rank. And a lot of times that subcategory sales rank will be visible, even if the main sales rank isn't. So again, if there is like traction and movement in that subcategory sales rank, again, it's more than likely getting sales, and that could be a good product. Now, he said, is there any difference between sourcing or like analyzing an OA lead versus analyzing a wholesale lead? So I personally don't think so, right? The same process applies to analyzing a wholesale product for profitability, right? Just using Keepa and Celerant. Same process as you would be using to analyze an OA product.
Yeah, more or less. There's some like, can somebody get it at the same price as me, like all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty much the same process. Yeah. Ivan had a good question. In the wholesale challenge, are you going to hand out all your suppliers? I have to assume not all of your personal suppliers, but not many people tend to do that since there will be competition. Can you give us a more like detailed breakdown? What does the wholesale challenge look like? What's everybody going to get when they hop in?
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer that specific question, sorry, I won't be giving away my suppliers, nor will we be giving anyway any suppliers, but we teach you how to find them, right? So that is pretty much what the challenge entails in a nutshell. A nutshell is each night we get on a stream just like this, and one, I teach you what to do, and then two, I show you how to do it, right? So for example, day 2 is specifically focused on finding suppliers. So we spend half of that entire session, me sharing my screen, finding suppliers there live, right? Showing you exactly what to look for, exactly where to find them. And that is pretty much the format of every other day, right? Every day is focused on a specific wholesale topic. Tons of bonuses included. So we've got the VA playbook. We've got ChatGPT prompts for Amazon sellers. We've got a trade show playbook. We've got a ton of bonuses that are going to be thrown in as well. And Warner, I don't know if you included anything extra for anybody that signed up using your link. Certainly no pressure. But aside from that, I mean, you definitely get that $100 discount when you use Warner's link. But I don't know if you're including anything else there.
I hadn't cooked anything up, but if you buy right now and DM me, I'll send you a lead or two or something like that for OA. Just send me a Discord message or send me an email.
There you go.
I'll toss you a product lead. Pay for at least a good chunk of the program there. Sweet. So, yeah, and that link's down below. You can use Fields 100, save you $100. I'll be on those classes, so I'll hope to see you guys there. See a good question.
Yeah. So Linus had a really good question here. He said, so what's a good Google prompt for finding wholesalers in the tool space? All right. So Linus, it's always going to be a very similar prompt, and it just depends on the category you're looking for. So it's always going to be category name. So in this case, tools. So you search tools, distributors, your city or town, right? So tools distributors, Charlotte, North Carolina. Tool distributors, Savannah, Georgia, right? Now, I like to experiment with, instead of saying tools, I like to go a little more granular, right? Choose a subcategory within tools. So a subcategory within tools might be, and I used this example the other day, so I use it again, right? Door hardware. Door hardware is a fantastic niche that's not very competitive on Amazon, but can be super profitable. So try searching door hardware distributors, your city, right? I guarantee you'll find a ton of really good leads that way.
Or hit them with like the Milwaukee distributor, your city, hit DeWalt distributor, your city, like all the big tool brands. You'll find lots of different rabbit holes. How would an item be making sales but not have a BSR? Well, it would have a BSR. It's probably just like a keep a data glitch, most likely. But like he was talking about, if you look and see suit sellers dropping off, new variation or new reviews coming on, like it's kind of guaranteed that it's gonna sell. Manny had a good question. Is going to ASD worth it in anyone's experience? What do trade shows look like for your business? How important are those?
Yeah, so Manny, I mean, listen, for me personally, I go to ASD twice every year, and I make my money back on that show every time, right? Like typically, one of the good things about ASD is that people are looking to sell inventory right there at the show. So it might cost me, $1,000, $1,500 for my plane ticket, for my hotel, everything to go to ASD and participate. But on day one of the last ASD, I placed, I think it was a $16,000 purchase order within 30 minutes of walking into the show.
Let's go.
Which paid for the whole show like 3 times over, right? And it was 30 minutes into the show. So again, if you work it right and you make good connections, not just with other vendors, but with other Amazon sellers there too, it is very worth it, right? And those relationships and those suppliers that you meet are going to continue paying you back multiple times into the future. And then guys, just trade shows in general, hands down, the best way to make the most quality relationships in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah. So what's your game plan when you're going to trade shows? Are you reaching out to them beforehand? Are you scheduling dinners? Like what does the networking at trade shows look like for you?
So it's pretty like casual, pretty impromptu, right? I used to do a lot of research before the show, but these days I don't. Like these days when I'm going to a trade show, I've got a couple of brands in mind that I'm there to buy.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, if it's a beauty trade show, I'm going to have, 10 or 15 cosmetics brands that I'm there to buy. Or like ASD, where it's kind of a lot of just like general merchandise. I've got a couple of tool brands that I'm looking for. I've got a couple of cosmetics brands that I'm looking for. And I've got a couple of, let's say, health and household brands I'm looking for. And then I'm just kind of going booth to booth, right? I'm just seeing like what catches my eye, because a lot of these vendors will have their products laid out within the booth. So for example, last time I stumbled upon a booth, I noticed a product that I sold before in my business. And I just walk up to the product, I pick it up, I kind of start looking at it, right? I wait for them to come over to me. And then typically a salesperson will come over to you and they'll say, hey, what's your name? What do you guys do? What are you looking for? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I got this product right here in my hands. We've actually sold a ton of this before. What's your price on it, right? Or how many do you guys have in stock? And that way you go right into showing them that you're serious, that you're there to buy, and they're much more likely to give you the time of day.
That's awesome. It's funny how it's like the sliding scale of the beginner who prepares and does all the fancy
Right.
stuff, and you're just rolling up to it's like, oh, I'm here to buy some some Dove or whatever it is. It's like, hey, you got
Yeah.
Dove? Like, you just talk to everybody on that.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the trade show I went to. I probably cast too wide of a net. I noticed you just walking around like, oh, I want this one brand. It's like, all right, like
Yeah.
sure, like that's awesome though. Let's see.
Oh, so there's a question here I want to address. So somebody
Yeah.
said, what is a realistic amount of usable capital for the wholesale challenge and the closing project? So when this person's talking about the closing project, they're referring to the 21-day action plan that we give you guys at the end of the challenge. Now, the goal of this action plan is to set you guys up for success post-challenge. So you're going to learn a ton of information over the next 8 days. And the action plan is dedicated to helping you execute on that, right? So it'll tell you exactly how many suppliers to reach out to each day, how to track your follow-ups, how to track your leads, and essentially have it to where if you execute on that plan, within that 21-day period, you will have profitable opportunities. So as far as how much capital is required, so the challenge itself is $649, but if you use Warner's code, Fields100, that'll get you $100 off. So it's $549. And then as far as capital required for inventory to just be successful in wholesale, guys, ideally you would have 5 to 10K in capital for inventory. However, I have seen people with as little as, let's say, 3 to 5K be successful with it.
Yeah, especially in wholesale. Like money talks so much in wholesale. Like you don't need quite as much with the others, but yeah, it definitely scales a little bit better.
Right.
Let's see. When and where's the next trade show? Any near Chicago? Yeah. How are what's the vibe on like local trade shows? Like I have to imagine there's a bunch in Chicago.
Oh, ton. In fact, Chicago, it has one of the, let's see, I forgot that it's like the Natural Food Expo or something
Yeah,
like
they've
that.
also
Like,
got snacks and sweets that
the sweets
we
and
were talking
snacks,
about.
yeah, that's a huge one. So yeah, Chicago has some of the biggest trade shows in the country. I would just go on Google and choose a category. Again, my advice always goes back to choosing a category or choosing a niche, and then just looking up upcoming trade shows in Chicago, and then check out the exhibitor list, right? See what brands are going to be in attendance, see what distributors are going to be in attendance, and that's how I would decide which shows to attend.
For sure. Go on your first ASD in March. Bang. Hope to see you there. You'll be there in March, right?
I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there.
I might set this one out. I might I might have to limit myself. 2 days a year in Vegas might be a plenty for me. I don't know. It might be more than I can stand already.
I know. I'm honestly like I love ASD and I love trade shows. Like the environment's so much fun. I know Smart Scout's doing some sort of event. I think it's on like the last night, so I think I'm gonna have to be there for like 4 days.
That's funny. Yeah,
So
we were in Vegas.
To being there that long.
Yeah, I was in Vegas for like 4 or 5 days last time, and on like day 2, it's like, all right, I'm overloaded. It's time to go home. It's time to go back to Wisconsin. Like,
yeah.
Would it be a big problem if you want to ship them to a residential area, your apartment, your first floor, if that makes it better? Yeah. Do you need a commercial address? Like, can people ship it to their houses? How does that work?
Yeah, so when doing wholesale, right, most suppliers will ship to a residential address, no problem. Now, typically, you're going to need to let them know in advance. And now, a lot of times, there's going to be a surcharge as well, right? So if you wanted to ship a pallet to your apartment, that's going to need to come on a certain truck. That truck's got to have a lift gate. And typically, a lift gate's going to cost you anywhere from $100 to $150 per shipment, right? So you want to factor that in, but it's not impossible at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and Manny also had another question too. He said, how often do you have this challenge or this class? So this is the first one that we've done in 7 months. It's the second one we've done ever. So we did one back in July of 2023. We actually weren't planning to do another one, but we got so much positive feedback and a lot of people asking about it that we decided to do one in 2024. So as of right now, we have 0 plans to do another one in the future.
Awesome. So hop in if you guys want to take advantage of that limited time opportunity here. We'll answer probably a couple more questions. So drop any last minute questions you guys have. Let us know what we can help you out with, and then we'll roll here. Let's see. When do you recommend starting going to those events? Should they go to trade shows right away?
So it's not going to hurt, right? Like the earlier you can get into that trade show environment, get comfortable with it, get comfortable talking to suppliers, get comfortable getting rejected, right? Because you are going to get rejected by some of these vendors at these trade shows. It's how it happens. It happens to me. So I think if you can muster up the courage to go there as a new seller, that's going to set you up so well for being a long-term successful seller, because very few people, have the courage and take the opportunity to do that early
For
on.
sure. Yeah, everyone else is sitting behind the computer sending emails or even just having a VA send a bunch of emails. But if you're there
Right.
in front of them in person, hey, I've got money. I'm, my name's Jimmy, whatever it is. Like it's like, all right, this guy's more legit. He's at
Yeah.
the trade show. It's instantly makes you way, way, way more valuable of a prospect to them.
Oh, yeah, it's a completely different conversation. I mean, you can build more rapport in 10 minutes in person than you can build in 3 months over the phone, right? It's like a completely different story.
For sure.
Mark
Finding more
Mark said he's finding more wholesalers every day in his area,
awesome.
some even open to the public. Love that, Mark. Would love to know too if you're buying products, right? Are you getting profitable opportunities from them?
Awesome. Type of capital you say you need to be worth going to a trade show. Is it any different? Probably still maybe closer to 10K if you're going to a trade show, probably.
Capital would you need? Oh yeah, for it to be worth it. I mean, listen, most vendors, like I said, they're going to be more lenient on the minimums. A lot of vendors at trade shows are not going to have minimums, right? So, in fact, a trade show is probably the best place to go if you have minimal capital, because you can meet someone in person, you can place a small order, right? And then you can kind of build on that relationship over time.
Sweet. All right, let's go ahead and give them a full rundown here, Corey. Patty was asking, when is the Wholesale Challenge Prep Center help in Canada want to start wholesaling hard in 2024? So just to kind of wrap us up here, give us the elevator pitch on what the Wholesale Challenge is, and then how they can take advantage.
Yeah, so guys, the Wholesale Challenge is our 7-day live training on how to start, scale, and manage a fully remote wholesale business. So Patty did ask about a prep center. That is how my entire business operates, is using prep centers. I don't have a warehouse. The model that I teach is no warehouse, right? Fully remote. So we spend a lot of time each day going into each aspect of the business, finding suppliers, contacting suppliers, hiring VAs, how to hire a prep center, shipping and logistics, like the whole 9 yards. It's all live, where we're in a stream just like this. It's interactive, lots of Q&A, and a very active Facebook community to go with it. So guys, even after the challenge, I'm going to be in that Facebook community answering all your questions pretty much every day. Chris Grant's in that Facebook group as well. And bottom line, it is the best wholesale education and community on the market. And ask anybody who's taken it, and they will vouch for that. So guys, we kick off. That's the thing too, is we kick off tomorrow at noon Eastern is the very first guest interview. So the doors close tonight at midnight. So guys, if you haven't signed up by tonight at midnight, don't be DMing me asking me to join, because I know a lot of you will, because it happened last time. And two, guys, the answer is going to be no, right? We want to show, be fair to the people that signed up in time.
Awesome. Yeah. So you guys can check that out down below. Save you $100 if you use my code down there as well. And then if you're watching on the stream right now and you shoot me an email, I'll send you an OA lead to go along with it if you buy right now using the code.
Nice.
But yeah, I'll see you guys on some of those Wholesale Challenge calls. I got to tune in and refresh myself on some of the stuff you're dropping on those calls as well. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the stream tonight. Corey, you have any last minute? What's like the first step or two someone should take to really get after it today?
Yeah. So, I mean, guys, first step is, if you're new to wholesale, you've got to have your foundation in place, right? So LLC, EIN number, and business bank account. But once you have those three things, guys, start calling suppliers.
Yeah.
Find brands, find distributors, call them up, put the reps in, make mistakes. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to scale in this business.
Awesome. Yep. Get after it. Get some reps out there. Thanks for taking the time, Corey. Appreciate you guys spending video Sunday night, and let's get after it. Let's have a good week, fellas.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you.